I'm Mark Whittle, former athlete and city worker turned life and performance coach, and this is the Take Flight podcast. We talk with the greatest minds and performers in the world and understand what it takes to reach your fullest potential and be unapologetically you. If you're finished with conforming to societal norms, done with being told who to be, and ready to take your own life into your hands, subscribe to this channel to hear the most unique conversations and be prepared to be enlightened, educated, and empowered. Our goal is simple: to support and help you navigate your own hero's journey. Enjoy our content, and when you're ready to go that step further, join our private or group coaching programs by inquiring at www.takeflightworld.com or by following me and DMing at markwhittle_TF. Fasten your seatbelt, it's time to take flight. Chris, welcome to the Take Flight podcast. Mate, I'm so happy to be sitting down with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. It's been a few years in the making, I think, this podcast, us sitting down. So, it's good to finally be here.
Yeah, and thanks for putting me through my paces. We're in the McGuigan gym, your home gym, where you moulded into the world champ that you are today. That smile.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to the world champion chat, to be honest with you. But no, it's nice, and yeah, obviously I've been, although the gym's moved, the McGuigan gym has moved a few locations since I've joined. I've been thinking 3 different locations, but here we are now. It's a nice little setup, and it's been an awesome journey. Having the McGuigans involved from the start of my pro career. Yeah, mate. No, thanks for inviting us in and letting us see where you train, where you become who you are today. Thanks for putting me through my paces. I've got the blisters. Yeah, you got the little greys on the knuckle greys. Yeah, it's the knuckle greys. Everyone's great. I've got some hard skin. So a couple more sessions, mate, and it'll just turn into hard skin. Yeah, but no, honestly, it was a pleasure, mate. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for doing that. No, my pleasure. How was the weekend, mate? Father's Day yesterday. I've got a little girl. She's 3 in July. I know you've got a little boy, and I know it changes you very much. So I know we've connected on this before, but what, did you get up to anything? How was Father's Day? I was actually up in Essex at Shane's place for Saturday night. He had an engagement party, so we had the little man getting looked after by my mother-in-law, and then went back yesterday, and he was with his godparents for the day down the beach and stuff. Then we went out for dinner with them and him last night. So he's won. So Mia sorted me out Frank sorted me out some treats for Father's Day. He said my dad world champ on some brownies and that, so amazing. They were enjoyable. But yeah, I definitely need to stop eating brownies and stuff because it's starting to get sick of them now, to be honest. But it's it's nice. Obviously, I was meant to do something with him this morning. I was meant to do a little like Father's Day at his nursery, but we got the times wrong. I thought it was going to be morning, but I had to come up here anyway because obviously got an event tonight and stuff. So yeah, it ended up being this afternoon, like 4 till 5. So unfortunately, I missed that. But it's, being a dad is the best thing. Like, right. It is life changing, and it just narrows you. Just your vision, your focus is just. You had so much. It feels like I had so much noise before I became a dad, and then that's just all just been silenced, and you just lots going on, but you just know where to put your energy, which sort of diminishes a little bit when you're not getting that much sleep. But no, it's the best thing ever. You made me feel a lot better about my daughter's a terrible sleeper. She's up at 5 every day, pretty much. Like last night, for example, she was up 3 times in the night. Like, she's just not a good sleeper. But you made me feel better because I often think about other people who have got different jobs to me, and I can sometimes get away with it if I've had a bad night's sleep. But when it matters, I imagine on like fight night and stuff, you're sleeping elsewhere. But mate, I haven't before this fight. I didn't sleep in the same building as Frank or my wife. I slept alone for 6 weeks. So really? At the weekends, I was going home, staying at a hotel. Wow. Because like I just couldn't risk it. Like he's not a terrible sleeper, but he's not a great sleeper. So for me, it was like I just couldn't risk it. Like if you wake up at 3 a.m, getting woken up, and a lot of time when I'm awake at that time, I'm awake for like an hour to 2 hours, even if you go straight back down. So especially in a fight camp where your mind's racing as soon as it's up. Like, so, yeah, I literally stayed at a hotel for the last 5 weekends before the fight. So yeah, that was literally just it's not nice because you miss a few things. Like I was putting into bed most nights when I was home at weekends, but yeah, obviously you don't get the wake up, like, which is nice. Mia will go in sometimes and bring him into the bedroom and chuck him on the bed and he'll just crawl all over me, which is nice. I miss that, but at the same time you get plenty of sleep, and which is needed when you're in fight camp.
Yeah, those whoop scores we're talking about.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. Like, if I had my whoop on, and like now I haven't had it on since fight week. So yeah, since the Wednesday of fight week, because it died on fight week, and I just thought I don't need to. Doesn't matter now. What will be will be.
Yeah.
Just try and get as much sleep as I can. Yeah, but I've had that recently. I think it'd be telling me I need about a day's sleep because of all the sleep debt that I've accumulated.
How is it transitioning back to dad in that job? Because like, I think a lot of people struggle with shifting from, my example, as an entrepreneur to dad. Like, you got to switch it off when I pick my daughter up at nursery or whatever, and I've had a very intense day. It's difficult, that transition then, to then switch your mind off and stop thinking about the things that your brain has been used to thinking about all day, and transition back into the responsible or fun or whatever dad that you want to be in that moment. Like, how do you find that?
Yeah, I think it's hard during camp because I go home at weekends and I've got to, put my energy into him, and so in that sense. But really, like I've said to you before, like boxing's a 24/7 job. Like, every second is you're thinking of boxing, but also you're preparing yourself for sleep, but also making weight. And once one session finishes, you're thinking about the next. So if I finish on a Friday or a Saturday morning, I'll do a run, then I'm preparing for Monday's first session. Like, okay, I've got to eat well now, I've got to stretch, I've got to do this and all that. And then, like, if I'm holding him sometimes, like, for a long period, and then I'm in an awkward position, I'm thinking about my posture, because like, you don't want to pull your back. It's like stupid. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's a 24/7 job in my head, and it's just always getting all your focus and your thoughts are towards that when you're in camp. So it can be difficult in camp, but because you have to be selfish. I have to be selfish in this sport to achieve what I've achieved. So I can't, if I'd stayed at home at the weekends and stuff like that and not get a good night's sleep and stuff like that, like, I had to have I think one day I slept in like till like 8:30, 9 in the morning. And my wife wanted me home at like 8, 8:30. And I'd just woken up at 8:30, 9. And then she was like, I want you, but I was like, look, like, I told you, like, I'm going to wake up when I wake up, because that's the whole point of me staying out, is to get as much sleep as possible. And I was like, it was the first weekend that I'd stayed in a hotel. And then I just said, look, I'm not sorry, because I'm sorry that this is the situation, but I'm not sorry for sleeping in, because that's the whole point of me staying away, is so I can get sleep and win this world title and change our lives. So that's sort of how the process has been. But then, so during camp, it is difficult to transition to being a dad. But I think once the fight's over, it's a lot easier, because your mind switches off from everything. And it's very, very much getting straight back into dad mode. We left the venue at 2:30 on fight night, and I had stitches, press conference, drugs test, left the venue at 2:30 in the morning, went back to the hotel. My wife had already gone back to the house where we were staying, where we're living, because we were going on holiday next day. So I was staying there that night, but went back to the hotel with the team, got some pizzas, and just chilled there, and that was the setup. But then I got home at like 5:30 in the morning. The little man was awake, and my wife Mia was like, "Are you going to be able to get back to sleep?" And I was like, "No." She was like, well, "Take him then." So like, I've literally carried my world title into the house, gone into the bedroom, carried him, got him, taken him to straight into being a dad from the world title fight. I hadn't slept. So yeah, just opened the belt box and showed him the belt and stuff, which was cool. So yeah, that was very much sort of gone from, all the adulation of fight night and all the 15,000 people and everything to home with my son. But that's what matters. Do you know what I mean? That's the moment.
Such a good image, babe.
Yeah, it was a cool moment. I just remember him just like poking the little diamond things on the belt and stuff, and like playing with them. And I just remember sitting there, just like eyes like ballooned up, stitches. Thankfully, he still recognised me. But yeah, it was a cool moment.
Wow, mate. So obviously what you're talking about there is the World Championship fight that you won. So massive congratulations. Honestly, like genuinely so happy for you, mate.
Thank you very much.
It was a special fight, and everything from the atmosphere being in your hometown to the win and the celebration and you and your wife in the ring and that celebration, like it all just felt so emotional and raw, and it was amazing to see it. So congrats, mate.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was definitely an emotional night.
I mean, it feels like, especially because, when I'm listening to your story there, having those conversations with your wife about, listen, I'm in the hotel for a reason. I'm sleeping in to be in the best shape possible so I can perform and change our lives. It's so important. I think a lot of couples struggle with those moments when you're trying to do something for the collective, for your whole family. And you need those moments when you have to be real with one another. And mate, I don't know, is that why it was so emotive then with you two in the ring in that celebration?
Yeah, I think so. Like over the years, she's seen how much work I've put in and everything I've done, the bad times, the hard times. And then so to be able to share that moment with her after like everything that's gone on with us and stuff, like over the years, when she met me, I think 3 months after she met me, so she didn't watch me compete for a year in boxing because I was having shoulder surgery in the January of 2015, and I met her October 2014. And so she knew I liked boxing. I don't think she realised how serious I took it, and I spoke about it all the time, and I was still an amateur back then. And then, so then I had the shoulder surgery, and so I didn't box until the following October. So we've been together a year before she saw me box. And she's definitely looks at it different now compared to how she did then, because I got out the ring after that fight, my first amateur fight back after my shoulder surgery. I lost it on a split decision, and she was like, I literally walked down the steps in the ring. It's an amateur show, so you can literally walk wherever you want. And she's like at the bottom of the steps and goes, "That was amazing." And I was like, "I lost." Like, nah. I was like, what are you on about? I lost. She's like, "No, but like just the atmosphere and like the thrill, I loved it." And then like now she's like, the fight the other day, she watched 2 rounds like of me winning my world title. She had her hands behind her eyes and stuff. So it's a lot different. But yeah, no, but she's been my rock throughout. Do you know what I mean? So it was amazing to share that moment. And I didn't know she was going to get in the ring. I think I might have mentioned it in the build. I was like, "You got to get in when I win." But I didn't think about it then. And then obviously I was just on the floor in tears, and then I look up and she's there. So yeah, it was a special moment.
Unbelievable. I often wonder how important it is that you meet your partner before your success.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I would hate to meet someone now. I'm not that I'm famous or anything like that. Just you wouldn't know why they're with you. Whereas I know why me and Mira are together for the right reasons. And then she's a massive part of the success. I probably wouldn't have had it without her by my side. So yeah, that's definitely difficult, I think, if you get some sort of fame or something and then try and find a partner or meet a partner. You're always going to have those reservations maybe. So yeah, I'm definitely lucky.
Yeah, mate, likewise. I resonate with that deeply. So listen, mate, World Championship fight against Lawrence Okolie, old training partner of yours, unbelievable atmosphere in your hometown, in the Bournemouth Stadium. Does it get any better than that for you?
Nah. I mean, the amount of rounds me and Lawrence done in this very ring, like sparring. It doesn't get better than that. My dream, remember talking about wanting to box at Bournemouth, and it was a bit of a pipe dream when I used to mention it. For like, people thought it was a bit of a pipe dream, me wanting to fight at the football stadium. But I was like, I don't know, I've always had this weird feeling that I just knew it would happen, even though I'm a realist, and I thought that maybe that I knew back then when I was mentioning it was very, very far away. But yeah, it's happened. It feels like it's happened so quick from just over a year ago. Before I boxed Isaac Chamberlain, there was no real talk of, probably got told around this time that I'll be fighting Isaac Chamberlain in 6 weeks. So around this time, I was probably started training, and it's just gone so quick. Like, that was the first show in Bournemouth that had ever been a televised show down there, and then a year on, world champion after headlining at the stadium. So it's not going to get better than that in my career. But it's amazing to always to achieve something like that. Like, I'm so wary of and aware of how lucky I am, because I don't mean this in a bragging way, but so many people probably have a dream, like an ultimate dream, and so few probably get to achieve it, and I've actually been able to achieve that. So I'm so grateful and so lucky to be able to do that. And I think about it, obviously we're 3 weeks on now, and I'm just, I've thought about it a few times, like over the last week probably, and realised, like, I'm so lucky to be able to get that opportunity to actually fulfil your number one dream. Like, not many people get to that. I guess in a way, from childhood, it's not my number one dream because I wanted to be a footballer, but from when you actually realise what you want to do with your life and stuff, that it's my number one dream. So I'm very, very fortunate.
But I believe deeply in that. Like, there's a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Obviously, as a coach or a mindset coach, I'm someone who works with people on what they believe about themselves, how they see themselves, self-image, understanding or bringing awareness to self-limiting beliefs and all these things. And we plant thoughts or beliefs in our subconscious to bring them into reality. Like, it's science. It's literally what happens. It's like, there's a guy called Joe Dispenza, you're familiar with him, who has proven the science behind that. And he has crazy examples of people who have been blind and then, made them not blind based off of their belief. When they're in a deep enough meditation, they believe it and it comes to reality. And people talk about, in a mad way, this can get a little woo-woo, but like the stories of Jesus, that when he healed people magically, this was a similar sort of practice, and it comes back down to their belief. So even though people are saying you can't do it, you have some glimmer of thought and a belief that you're going to box on the world stage for a title in the football stadium, and then it comes to reality. That's the practice that's taken place. Yeah,
I guess so. I guess you sort of speak about it first, and then even if you don't believe it, but you speak about it, and then it gets a bit closer, and you think, actually, maybe on a whim I could do it. And then it's like, well, actually not on a whim, this could actually happen if we put the work in, we do this and that. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I say this stuff to myself about the things I'm trying to bring into reality. I find the hardest bit then is you say it, you start to believe it, but then you got to do it. So how did it feel when you actually get the fight booked in the stadium?
Yeah, I mean, I heard after Chamberlain fight last year that they penciled in May 27th at the stadium. So
who's they? Boxer?
Yeah, like the Sky Sports and Boxer.
Right.
So that had been penciled in. And then it was like, okay, well, and then we got a fight in December. It wasn't like a eliminate or anything. The fight was only got announced sort of 8 weeks before it was going to be for a world title. We were trying other world champions, and they were becoming difficult to get over the line and get the deal done.
Who did you try?
We were going to go for the IBF champion Jaya Pataya, because he was getting spoke about even when I boxed Chamberlain. And then he had his mandatory and he had management issues and stuff. And we tried the WBA champion Arsene Goulamirian, who's a French-Armenian guy who's been champion for a few years, and was becoming difficult to get him over the line. So then we put it to boxer, like, what about Lawrence? Literally the day or two before his fight, we're like, we'll wipe this guy out and then he'll be fresh and be up for it. And then, he didn't wipe the guy out, but he beat him convincingly. And then, and thankfully Lawrence took the fight 9 weeks after he'd just boxed. So
Whose idea was it?
I think Shane's.
Shane's.
Me and Shane had a chat, but Shane came up with it.
Yeah.
And just put it to Boxer. We were on a little Zoom call with him. And he put it to him, and he's like, yeah, well, we'll ask him on Monday, sort of after his fight. And then he was in Sky Sports on the Tuesday saying, you've got this date, you've got a stadium, here's my world title, let's do it. And I don't know if Lawrence thought I was going to take the fight or not, because in an interview he said they're umming and ahhing, all these guys are umming and ahhing, but it's just based on me and Richard Riakporhe. And then I just replied saying, no, I'm in an ahhing for me, mate, let's do this. And then there we were. It was made pretty quickly.
Are you still chatting with him? Because you've been mates, training partners for, is it years? You were in this gym together for years?
Yeah, he joined in May 2019.
Okay.
And then he left sort of just after February last year. So
all right.
it was 3 years probably.
Yeah. So are you guys still are you WhatsApping during this time, chatting or?
No, not really. When he fights, when he boxed, I probably messaged him or messaged his team. I used to have the same strength conditioning coach as him when he was in the gym. And then, we chatted here and there, but not really. When we were gym mates, we weren't mates out. We didn't hang around outside the gym. But I got a lot of time, a lot of respect for Lawrence. But it's just, we just didn't hang around together. And he texted me on the Sunday after the fight and stuff, saying congratulations and stuff, saying, I'm annoyed, but I'm happy for you and stuff. So that's really nice. I think the way he took the defeat as well needs to be massively commended, because not many people do that. They shout and scream from the rooftops about something or other, but he dealt with it how a true champion should, I think, and a great role model to see how people can deal with defeat and adversity.
Yeah, I tend to agree, mate. I was actually quite surprised. I had Lawrence on the podcast maybe 2 years ago. So I'm surprised that he was so humble in defeat, actually. It's a great mark of someone's character. Yeah.
Obviously, he's sort of comes across sometimes like he's got a massive ego. Yeah. And he has got an ego. I know you won't mind me saying that because he says it himself. But yeah, I think it was superbly dealt with by him. And in a sport where there's so much sort of stuff you don't want to see and you don't want your kids seeing and stuff. Yeah. The good stuff doesn't get spoke about enough. So it's important.
No, I'm glad you brought it up. So is there a rematch on the line with him or not?
There is a rematch clause, but it's a hard sell because not many people want to watch that type of fight because it was quite a messy fight. And it is a business, so maybe we'll go different routes. We'll see. I'll leave that to my team. But if we've got to do a rematch, so be it. But it is a hard sell when he could maybe go another route, and we'll see.
Yeah, you good?
Yeah, I need a drink.
Yeah.
When I talk for long periods, my voice just.
Nah, mate, you're good. Take a break. Take as long as you need. I'm saying. Good. Was there a point in the fight where you allowed yourself to think, I've won this?
No, never in the fight. I think that's why my reaction was how it was, because even at the end of the fight, I was like, I've done that, but I know boxing. I know, my amateur coach said it to me. He said, it's the only sport where once the final whistle or bell goes, you don't know the result, unless it's a knockout, of course. But yeah, it's the only sport where you don't know. And I was like, it's so true. You don't know the result, even if you think you do, you don't, because you see it time and time again, people get robbed. So it was, and then obviously the scorecards read out and the news, and just just a wave of emotion.
Not afraid to cry, mate. It was amazing to see.
No, that's it. And I've always been a sensitive person, and I've always just allowed myself to show that. And I sometimes look at it back and I'm not. It doesn't bother me because I am who I am, very comfortable in my own skin. And I think it's important. It's always what's helped me get through situations is speaking openly and showing my emotion and stuff. I've always been the same. Never. You obviously do hide emotion at times naturally, but yeah, I think especially when it's good emotion, like you can't. It was uncontrollable anyway, but
Yeah.
it's. I think it's important to show it, especially when you're sitting on top of the world, sort of thing.
What was it? Was it relief, joy, bliss? How do you explain it?
Just, I think elation in terms of I've done it, like a realization of like my whole dream has been achieved, and on the perfect night, like I said earlier, like just the most incredible night, and with everything that was going on in terms of my boy's birthday the day before, and I was like, I'm going to win a world title for his first birthday, and then my mum being battling cancer, and then and then the stadium, the atmosphere, and all that. So yeah, it was just a perfect night. So I think all that just made the emotion even higher.
But I think when, from an outsider's perspective, when you're watching that and you see someone respond like that, it's so inspiring for people who are trying to achieve their own goals, because you really see it, I suppose, it pay off, or what it's all for, because it's hard work working towards your biggest dreams, like, and trying to realize that lifestyle for yourself. It's fucking hard work. And I think a lot of the times, especially like you're in a solo sport, I'm a solo entrepreneur, I work with a lot of people who work by themselves or have dreams that are very much kept in their own minds, and you're working towards that day in, day out, and it can be exhausting, and you can beat yourself up and you can get down on yourself. So to see such a great success story, like, it's so inspiring.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's crazy, and I still don't think it's fully sunk in. You know, it's still feels very fresh. Still bump into people, go, he's a boxing world champion, like, to their family members. I'm like, yeah, I am. It sounds weird, but yeah, still getting used to it.
Does it change the way you see yourself?
I don't think so. Maybe it gives you a bit more confidence, and
You prove yourself right.
yeah, and confidence in everything I've been working towards and doing in the process, which I had confidence in anyway. But yeah, when you actually achieve the goal because of it, then yeah, even more so.
Yeah, when you can believe it, but when you actually give yourself the evidence to believe it again, then you realise you're not just mad.
Yeah, basically, yeah, and it was all worth it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, mate. What would you say to people who are pursuing a goal, who might be close, they might be a mile off, but are on the journey?
I don't know. I've always liked to have a foresight rather than a hindsight approach. So don't have any regrets. So in terms of, like, for me, it was like, right, I don't drink because I don't have regrets or an excuse where, oh, if I didn't drink, maybe I would have gone further. Or if I'd done that run, I would have won the fight and things like that. So it's just like, don't have any regrets and just chuck yourself into it, because you chuck yourself into something, you're not going to have regrets. And then if you don't achieve what is your goal at the time, you've done yourself proud, you've given it everything, and that's all you can ever do in life, is just give it everything. And that's why I do all the little 1% that add up, you know, wearing the whoops and doing mouth tape, you know, and doing my breath work and doing my S&C and eating right and making sure I'm hydrated and sleeping away from my family and all that, and it all adds up, and it all compounds. And I think that's sort of the mindset I've always had, like, I don't want to have any regrets. So me having a lion and the missus getting angry, you know, I don't regret that, because thankfully it was all worth it. And
I'm going to use that one.
I had that foresight to see, you know, in 6 weeks' time, me and her might be arguing, but in 6 weeks' time, it would be worth it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and now I can use it as an excuse to have more nights away.
But how long has that been the case then? Because is that a mindset for camp, or do you not drink and you do the 1% all the time?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Outside of camp, I probably don't take my vitamins and stuff every day. I don't drink outside of camp. I haven't drunk for nearly 9 years now. So yeah, I think my amateur coach said it to me. He said, you can drink when you're retired, and you can be the one in the pub telling the story that you did it, rather than being the bloke who's drunk in there saying, I could have been a boxer, I could have done this, I should, if this had happened, blah, blah, I was unlucky and all this stuff, like coulda, woulda, shoulda, do you know what I mean? But that's not the, that's always, so what he's told me, that's always stuck with me, having that. And I've always just had a foresight, I just don't want to have regrets, and give it everything, and I'll have no regrets. And I probably had that from quite a young age, like even with football, like I didn't make it football, but I gave it everything. Like if I had a game on the Sunday at 16 years old, there was a party where my mates were drinking or whatever, I wouldn't drink because I'd have a game the next day and stuff like that. So I never wanted to turn up to sport hungover or anything like that. And I guess that's sort of the first sort of bit of foresight I had at quite a young age. So yeah, I've always just loved sport. I wanted to give it everything, and I guess that'd be my main bit of advice, would be just don't have any regrets and try and have a foresight and of how you'd feel if you did do it or you didn't do it, or you whatever, which is hard to do because we live in the here and now, and you get a cheap dopamine hit from eating that cake or having that beer or whatever. So it can get you, but you just got to stick to it.
Such a good practice, mate. There's a study that's shown that the uber successful have 3 traits in common. It's having deep insecurity, but also having deep self-belief and some sort of thing inside you that you're going to be successful. You said it earlier, like you knew you were going to do this thing. Part of you knew that, but then there's also, the counterpart of that where there's a deep insecurity that, oh, maybe I can't. So you're battling yourself. And the other one is delayed gratification or impulse control, which is that ability to say, do you know what? I'm not going to have that in the moment. I'm going to avoid that cake or not have that drink, in your case for 9 years, for the bigger picture. Something I think is worth mentioning about you is what I love about you is, so the first time we met, we were talking about it earlier, we think it was the AJ fight, AJ Usyk in the Tottenham Stadium. Mm-hmm. And then it was 2 or 3 weeks afterwards when you came to the Take Flight event that George Groves spoke at, which we'll talk about him as well. We'd spoken before, I think on like social media or something. Yeah. So I knew of you and I knew who you were, and admired you as an athlete. But then I admired you as a person when you came to the event by yourself to listen to George and hear what he had to say and see if there's any takeaways from that. You messaged me afterwards and asked for the breathwork recording that we'd used in the session. And I remember that, and I never forgot that, because I was like, that's amazing to go, listen, mate, I really enjoyed that. Can you send me it? You told me earlier about how you studied in nutrition yourself because you wanted to learn and, take responsibility and I know you've done lots of other things like that in your life yourself off your own back to try and get to where you are today. So like, firstly, that's just an acknowledgement to say, it's all paid off for you, right? So it's amazing. Are there any other examples that you can share as well? Because it's basically discipline and it's a desire for you to trust yourself and do it yourself.
Yeah, no, I just, nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
Are you aware of the uniqueness of that though?
Yeah, because I've seen people around me not do what I do. But I always see it because of what you were saying, the deep insecurity, I'm not, I said it to one of the Sky Sports commentators, Andy Clark, said to him once, like, I'm not a good enough boxer to be able to drink and box, do you know what I mean? Like, I have an insecurity about I'm not good enough. And I still think that now. I feel like I'm not the best in the world, so I need to keep grafting, and I haven't proven I'm the best in the world. I can be the best in the world, and I know I can prove I am, and we're not far off that in terms of the other champions and stuff like that. So I think it's important to sort of to know that, and I think once you're at the top, it's very hard to stay there. And I've got a lot of admiration for people like Floyd Mayweather who can just stick at it. But I'm not, globally, universally known as the number one cruiserweight. So until I am, I won't stop striving for that. And I think that's the insecurity side. And it wasn't a perfect performance either. So it's about, the performance is always the main. Winning's important, but it's the performance is more important. I've had wins, I've had losses which I preferred. I felt better after than some wins because the performance was better in the loss against maybe a better opposition or whatever, and you've bowled over someone who you're meant to beat. So yeah, I think it's that sort of mindset is that insecurity side definitely, and I guess that's why I do all the things I do and always have done. And I think that's why I feel, I guess, different to other people. Just I'm willing to not do this and not do that, or do this and not do that, and other people aren't. And it's accumulated now, and I think really only now I realise it has all compounded and it has all been worth it. And that's sort of how I've felt a lot of the time now, is in the last few weeks, is it was all worth it, all the hard graft and stuff. But I've enjoyed it as well, and I've enjoyed the process, and I wouldn't have had any regrets had Lawrence beat me. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have had any regrets because I knew I'd done everything. So yeah, I think that because I had that, like I spoke about earlier, I had that foresight to see that, all doing all these little things will compound and be worth it.
Yeah, it's that no stone unturned mentality, isn't it? I love that. And why would we leave anything to chance, especially when it's your dream that's on the line? And a lot of times when I speak with people, it's about identifying what's within the control and what's outside of our control. So it's within our control to do a nutrition course, or to get a breath work, or to implement different tools that are going to support you on your journey to realising your dream. So I love it, mate. Okay, I think I might change gears and, well, actually just one more point, because I think it's really interesting what you say, and I think it will bring a lot of people some relief, is that you're the world champion and you think that you're not the best in the world. And I know, like, that sounds funny even in your head, right? But for a boxer, or for a boxing fan, or someone who just, or even a non-boxing fan, right? You're the world champion, so surely you're the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, obviously as well in boxing you have numerous world champions, different governing bodies, but I believe I'm the best in the world, but I haven't proven it. So until I prove it, and I know I can improve, so I've always had a growth mindset. So until I can stop growing, until I've reached, which I don't think we ever do, but in any way, shape or form, I'll stop boxing one day and I'll have a growth mindset towards something else. But until I stop boxing, I'll keep looking for improvements, because like I said, that I didn't knock Lawrence out, so there's an improvement to be made. And he won some rounds, so there's an improvement to be made. Yeah. So you can't just look at, okay, he won, so you've made it. And that's never been the way I am. I've never thought of that. So yeah, I think that's just the way I am, and it always have been. Just until I've proven that I'm the number one in the world, then I've got to keep grafting until I've proven it. And
what does that look like? Unanimous across the belts?
Yeah, I guess undisputed. Who knows? Who knows what it looks like? But you can't get too caught up in what it looks like. I think it's better to get caught up in the processes of what gets you there, and then the lay of the land will play out. But you've prepared for the opportunity when it arises.
I love it. So what does the process look like, do you think?
Just doing what I've been doing for the last however many years, is doing everything right, getting my sleep right, getting my hydration right, getting my food right, doing my training, doing the extras in training, looking for the 1%, doing my mouth tape every night, taking my supplements, doing my breath work, all these little things that add up, the visualization, all that sort of stuff, like all of it adds up. And at the same time, you have you got to keep yourself happy you can't just be, it sounds like I'm a robot and, all that stuff that I do, but got to be happy. And I've got an amazing wife and an amazing son, an amazing family, amazing friends. I'm very, very lucky. So I'm happy in my life as well. And you've got to have balance. You can't just, no, I can't come out tonight because I've got to be in bed by this time. And I definitely have enough flexibility in my lifestyle that allows me to stay disciplined for the areas I need to stay disciplined for, and still get enough sleep and whatever, and but enjoy life at the same time, because you've got to enjoy that process, because the process is infinitely longer than the destination. Winning the world title, that lasts a week, maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Really, I had a come down probably after about 10 days to 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, well, what's next? And it's like, so you got 10 days, you can't work for, to get to that moment, years and years and years, but even training camp for 12 weeks for 10 days and not be happy in that 12 weeks. Or for this camp, it was even longer. I've been in camp since the beginning of the year. So you're looking at nearly 5 months of just working for 10 days worth of fun. If that was horrible, is it worth it? To me, it's not. Life's more than 10 days worth of fun before you start looking at the next thing. So you've got to enjoy the process. And I do, we're in a great gym here with great people. And we have fun in the gym, even when we're grafting hard. And Shane has a good balance of seriousness and enjoyment. But it comes down to Shane, but also the people we've got in the gym. They're really good people, and like I said, you've got to enjoy the process, and I think we do that well in the gym.
I love it, mate. You're so right. I think you got to pick the things. There's more stuff coming to your life. You got to pick the things that give you that fun. I know it's, again, likewise, both being parents, it does change things. I've definitely got almost no social life now. We're going to the Through Dark event later.
We are.
That's a rarity for me to be out in an evening.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously been dad, and then came home after the fight, went away for a wedding with my wife, my son and my mum. My mum was looking after the little man whilst the day we went to the wedding, then I had a holiday and I flew straight to a stag do. So I felt massive guilt. But at the same time, it was kind of a celebration with my mates, because I didn't get that on the night because I didn't see him. So that was nice, but I also felt super guilty. So like every night I'm like, if he wakes up, I'm trying to wake up. I mean, sometimes if he's been awake for like an hour and I'm like trying to get him back to sleep, but my patience wear thin. I'm like, I've had enough. It's your turn. You've been asleep for 4 or 5 hours. So, but no, like, it's hard to, even this week, like I'm up in London 4 days this week because I've got a few different things on today, the event tonight, and then doing some filming again tomorrow. Got a gig on Wednesday night with George Groves. They're going to watch the Black Keys, and then I'll be home Thursday. But I felt bad, but I was like, he's at nursery Monday, Wednesday and Thursday morning anyway, so it's really only Tuesday. Obviously the nights are the hard part as well for my wife, but yeah, I felt so guilty. I was like, obviously asked her, and like, but she's so supportive. But yeah, like, you're right, they are a rarity, especially for me when I'm out of camp, because it's time to be a dad and be a husband. Do you know what I mean? But and it's harder now, world champion, because you have a lot more media commitments and stuff like that. So but yeah, but thankfully, like I said earlier, I've got an amazing wife who's very supportive. So the social life is it doesn't take too much of a hit for me, thankfully.
Can you talk a little bit more about, you said after 10 days you felt a bit of a lull after the celebrations and the highs of the victory?
Yeah.
What was that? What do you think it was?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a sports psychologist I spoke to, and he was very aware of like it, and also one of George's old agents, spoke to him. He's like, you will get just to warn you, like, you enjoy it all now, but you will get a like what's next moment. And or sort of a lull. So I'm lucky to have people like that around me who warned me of it. And it's not been bad, but I've definitely felt a dip. And I think maybe less of a dip because I've achieved the ultimate goal. So I'll always have that in the bank, like forever the history books to read. I'll always have the memories, the videos. But also I was warned that a dip will probably happen. So it's probably less of a dip. But yeah, it's just, you just start to feel like, okay, well, you've done it. And what's next? And like, that's always a scary thing when I think you achieve the ultimate goal. Like, I never really thought about it before, but I think because I've always had that sort of mindset we spoke about, that I'll be all right. It's like, I knew I'd always be all right off the back of it. And because like I said, I'm not done yet. I'm nowhere near done, as much as I'm very grateful for the goal and be able to compartmentalize where that is done, and I can appreciate it and talk about it like it's the ultimate dream, because it was, but also be motivated for the next goal. Where a lot of people will look at me talking about it and go, he's taking his eye off the ball now. But, you know, I mean, we'll find out when I'm back in here on the pads with Shane and I'm back in sparring for real. But I'm 99% sure that I'll be very focused and focused on the next goal. Because, you know, it's not like financially my family's set up yet or anything like that either. So I guess for me, that's a huge part of it now, is looking after little man's future.
Yeah, man, what a motivation as well, by the way. What a motivation.
It doesn't get bigger than that.
Yeah, there's that documentary on Netflix, The Weight of Gold, I think it's called. It talks, yeah, it's good, mate. It might be worth watching. It talks about the Olympians who won gold, right? Who worked their whole lives to achieve
I've heard
the gold
about it,
medal. Yeah. And there's a lot of stories that have come up in the past, but Netflix have condensed a good series about it. And about the emotions and the things that follow after achieving that lifelong goal. And especially when they're even in the shortest period would be a 4-year if they were to do 2 Olympics in a row. And most people, of course, only ever do 1. And most people don't win the gold. So it's kind of, it's an interesting topic. And I think it's, you know, I have full belief as well that this is just one step. Also, when you say this is the peak, part of me also says that it isn't the peak for you as well. So,
it's a peak.
It's a peak.
Yeah,
nice.
You know, I guess a peak in a mountain range. Yeah. We'll go summit another peak.
Love that, mate. My dad used to say to me all the time, "Find new mountains." So that's cool. Stays in my head all the time.
I like that. Yeah. I guess we can take some inspiration from Nims. Shout out Nims. You know, with his 14 peaks. One was never enough for him. So yeah.
You got one now.
Yeah, I got 14 more to go to beat him.
Yeah, there's the motivation. Listen, mate, talk to me about George Groves. I've known George for a few years. He spoke at my event, of course. I'm actually going on his podcast in a couple of weeks. I think it's 3 or 4 weeks. What a guy. Very funny guy, but a very lovely man as well. I know he's been a big part of your journey, so I'd love to hear your perspective on him.
Yeah, I just became a fan of George sort of around, I just got into boxing when I was 17 and 16, and then started watching it a bit more probably when I was 17, 18, and he was just turned pro, and he's fighting on like David Haye's undercards and stuff, and I liked watching David Haye, as most people did. Exciting fighter, talked a load of crap. And then George had the James DeGale fight, and I got tickets and went and watched. And it was, and I was always just a fan of his. The way he carried himself, even in press conferences and stuff like that, I was like, he was dry sense of humour, but like to the point. Didn't really ever speak about anything personal with people. Just spoke about their boxing and just like said his beliefs on their boxing ability, which people saw as trash talk, but he was like, well, he's right in what he's saying. And I think that's what really got under Froch's skin when they obviously fought the first time. I think it really got under it because he was like, what George was saying was true. And I think Carl subconsciously knew that, and it just it just ate away at him. But yeah, so I just followed George and just went to the Gale fight. It was epic. And then I think that was 2011. So 2011, yeah, I think it was May 21st, 2011. And and then just followed his career. Loved him as a fighter. Then I was friends like on Facebook. I used to just accept everyone because I was like, one day that they might have an opportunity for me, or they might buy a ticket off me when I go pro or whatever. Like my mum said, you can never have too many friends, so I'd accept everyone. And then I got a message one day from a guy who used to work as Shane's right hand man, and he was like, "Can you come and spar tomorrow in London?" And I didn't know George was training with Shane because it was the first week, and I was his first spar under Shane. And he goes, I said, "Yeah, no worries. Where and when?" He was like, "Oh, this address at this time. You'll be doing 600 George Groves." I thought it was going to be with middleweight that Shane was training at the time. And and I was like, okay. And then me, my brother, and my mate Lee Cutler, who boxed on my undercard, drove up to London to Battersea Gym, where this McGroon's gym started. And did 6 rounds with George. And I was just like, afterwards, I remember saying, like, "Thank you, George, so much. Like, it's an honour to share the ring with you." Like, didn't get a picture or anything because I was never like, I didn't want to ever do that. Like, I never wanted to be that person. Like, I'm just here for the picture sort of thing, for the gram or whatever. And then they were like, "That's good work, yeah, mate." And then Shane said, "Oh, maybe come back, do some more, and maybe even do some with David as well, David Hay." So I was a massive fan of George for years. I actually sparred him in 2013. Before that was 2015 November, but I'd actually sparred him like just before he left Adam Booth as well, because I was down there sparring a guy Adam Booth trained, and just jumped in with George for 2 rounds, but didn't get a chance to speak to him or anything. And then we I ended up sparring him quite regularly and becoming one of his regular sparring partners. Never ever said no. Never said I'd have work on a Tuesday a lot of time. Get a message on the Monday, "Can you spar tomorrow?" At midday, I was like, "Yeah, no worries." And then I'd go to my work and say, "I need cover tomorrow. Can anyone cover me? I'm going to London spar." And to be fair to George, he paid me anyway, so I was actually earning more money going to him than I was going to work. So it was a double whammy for me to one, get to live my dream and spar my boxing idol, and then get paid for it as well. So it was an amazing experience. Then obviously ended up joining the gym eventually. And as we'd agreed to, I sparred him before the Chudinov fight when he won the world title, and we'd agreed that I was going to join the gym after one of the sparring sessions with George. And then I went to the fight, like bought tickets off George's ticket guy, and went to the fight, watched him win a world title, which was the 27th of May 2017 at a football stadium. And then 6 years later, 27th of May 2023, I won a world title at a football stadium. So when that date got told, I was like, I know that date because I'm weird with dates. Like, I just always remember dates and stuff. So and then I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the date George won his world title. And then I looked it up. I was like, yeah, it was. And then absolutely crazy to think that like it just like the stars aligned. Do you know what I mean? And I've never been one to think of fate or anything like that, but it definitely felt like when I won my world title, it did, because of all those reasons, and then the one with George as well. And then he was amazing for me throughout my career. Like, he knew I was a fanboy. We joked about it in the gym, like Shane joked about it a lot, but I think I was the right side of the line. I wasn't like pictures every day and stuff, and then we used to go running by his house, and then remember when he got his Rolls Royce, he picked me up one day from the train station with him and Shane, and him, Shane and Josh Pritchard went for a cruise around London in it one night. And it was just the most surreal experience for me, because, and it still is, like, and I don't think I'll ever be starstruck again, because I'm like mates with my idol. So, massive inspiration for me, the way he carried himself, the way he boxed, the adversity he faced for his career. I think that was just massively inspirational to me. And saw him on Saturday night at Shane's. Had a good laugh, went and met him and his wife beforehand with a couple of the others who were staying at the same hotel as they were. And and it's just mad now. We chat a lot. I'll probably pop in and see him this week, because I'm down at where he records his podcast on the day he's recording, so I'll go and say hello. And then obviously Wednesday I've got going to a gig with him, so now he's inviting me to gigs. And I always appreciated his playlists in the gym as well. So when we'd be sparring and stuff, before the spar I'd have his playlist on, and I was like, we've got a similar taste in music. And it wasn't me just pretending to so I could be friends with him. So no, it's we've got a similar taste in music. And he messaged me last week, like, do you like Black Keys? I was like, yeah, decent. He's like, do you want to come? I was like, yeah, sound. So yeah, it's just a crazy story, really. Like, kids, like a childhood would dream of. Obviously for me, I was later teens when I became a fan of George, but yeah, just madness really. And it makes me just, people say don't meet your idol, don't meet your heroes, but for me, thankfully I've met mine, and he's now become a good friend.
Yeah, friends are your heroes. Yeah, mate, I've been in that Rolls Royce as well. He dropped me at the Tube in it. Yeah. It's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah. He loves it. You know, it's I think it was a birthday present to himself after the Eubank fight, well deserved. You know, what a career, and got his world title and earned his money, got out with his faculties intact, and he's a very content man. And it's amazing to see that after seeing, I guess I didn't know him, but you could see, you know, the heartbreak he went through, and sort of the man he sort of become. Probably lost his confidence a lot as well. Well, he definitely did throughout the years, and as both a fighter and a person, probably, because, you know, when you're so involved in boxing, you're just a boxer.
Yeah.
And as a person, you are that. So he would have lost his confidence on all levels. So to see him, his career, do what he did, earn the money, the name he's got, you know, created history with Froch, although it was not the night for him. He can now joke about it, which is actually a funny story. We were at his 10-year wedding anniversary party, and he was like, he kept like doing these like hilarious things with the DJ. So like, get the mic, and he'd go, right, we thought we couldn't get Blue tonight because his wife loves Blue. He's like, but, or was it 5? I don't know, if it might have been 5 actually. So then he got like his mates to come out with the face masks on and like play one of their tunes. Then he goes, right mate, he goes, he goes, next one I've got Spitfire, which is his entrance tune. He goes, and I've got this tiny little mini baby's London bus, which is obviously what he came into on the Froch fight. And he come in on this, and he told me about it. I was like, yeah. I was like, should I say it or not? I was like, I reckon we're good enough friends. And I'll go, yeah, then I'll pretend to punch you and knock you out. I've only felt comfortable saying that because we're close. And when that happened, I was in tears that night. So, so we did that, and George like winked at me like as he got off the London bus, which was about this big, and winked at me, and I was like, laughing as I did it, and like he like fell on the floor, and Sophie, his wife, came up to me and goes, Chris, I can't believe you've done that. I've never forgiven you. I was like, hugged. I was like, Sophie, I promise you, like I shed tears that night too. I promise you. I was like, so I always said, I said it to someone the other night about it. We were talking about one of George's fights or something. I was like, I think I'm the person who's cried the second most over George's career, because I was such a massive fan. So yeah, I think Sophie would be number 1, and I was number 2. But no, thankfully she forgave me. But yeah, no, it's good to see him content and be able to laugh about, you know, situations at one point he would have absolutely hated to think about, let alone relive or joke about, or see people take the mick out of him or stuff like that. So yeah, he's to see him so content and be able to do that shows the measure of the man as well. Oh yeah, mate, he's obviously done his healing work around it, and I think just from your perspective, you know, it's nice. I always say the same quote: you can't be what you can't see. So to have him in your life as initially as an idol, and then as a sparring partner, and then almost now as a mentor and a friend, like amazing to have been able to be there to support you. I also love what he's doing with Froch now. The content they're doing together cracks me up. Yeah, it's brilliant. And it's, I loved Froch before the Groves fight. So then in the build up to the first one, obviously I was a George fan more than I was Froch, but then I started to dislike Froch and how he's going away. And then like he got beat George twice, so I was bitter. And then he was doing all the sort of chat, and then George started doing his tour with him, and I was like, what's he like? And then he was like, do you know what, he's actually quite funny. I was like, George seems very content with it, so maybe I could be content with it. and then I went to one of their evening with things when they were doing their tour, and I got to meet him. And yeah, he was actually really, really nice. He's really funny. He does crack me up. I think, he plays his role now. Carl does. But no, I think it's for George to be able to go on tour with Froch and talk about their two fights, which George essentially lost both of them on the record, but also get knocked out in the biggest one. Like I said, chose the measure of the man. I don't know how well I'd be able to do that.
It's like you said, though. George did come back and win his title. It might have been a bit harder to do it if he never went on to do that.
Absolutely, he wouldn't be doing it if he didn't go and achieve and good money out of his career and stuff. But yeah, I think, but still, he's still a man that he goes to show that he healed, like you said, he healed over it.
2 more questions, mate. We're at the top of the hour now, so 2 more for you. You good?
Yeah.
Do another 2?
I'm good.
Okay. So this show's Take Flight. It's about, in the heart of it, it's about the leap of faith and pursuing the thing that you really love and care about. And there's a period usually, because we think that just starting it is enough, but there's a period where we're transitioning from one thing to the next thing, where perhaps the side hustle or the passion or the purpose, whatever you want to call it, isn't quite at the level it needs to be for you to step 2 feet in. And it might be a mind thing, or it might be a financial thing, or there's many other things that come into play. Could you just share your journey with that period of time when you were working, what that life looked like, and the transition between the two to full-time pro boxing?
Yeah, when I was doing amateur boxing, I guess I turned into more of a pro even as an amateur in terms of the way I was living my life, because I started working at a boxing gym and another gym, but part-time, so I could focus more on my boxing, and I was paying for my S&C sessions, which I'd do three of those a week, and doing the nutrition course as well on the side to sort of further my knowledge. And I thought, then if I don't make it, I've got backup in terms of can help people with nutrition and stuff. But then we just got into sort of before I got into that. I I was working in a call center when I won the novice championships, and then I was like, obviously hated working in a call center, soul destroying job for me at the time, selling personal accident insurance to like elderly people. Didn't sell many because I felt like, is this just a rip-off? And then I just went, I remember thinking, right, I don't really want to do this. So I left to do personal training alongside, because I was a qualified personal trainer, but try and push it more. But I knew it was never really what I wanted to do. And then I was like, so I quit that job and started doing a bit more personal training, but then I had to do another side job of working as a kitchen practitioner, pot wash, in a kitchen. And it was at an airport where they did like flying lessons and stuff out the back of Bournemouth Airport. I remember one day I was like doing amateur boxing. I remember one day just looking over the airport, and there's a beautiful sunset, and I guess I call it an epiphany, but I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'll just chuck myself at someone and go and do it. And you can't be working as a KP, and you can't be doing just go and push the personal training and whatever, and then do the boxing and push yourself from that and just give it everything and just see what happens. And then, I started doing a bit better in boxing and got Great Britain assessments and stuff. But I took that leap from just working in the gym, 2 part-time jobs in gyms. I was coaching some lower level pro boxers as well, because I was quite a high level amateur. I think that period there was when I'd taken the leap to that. Even though I wasn't professional, I was sort of living more like a professional than I was before, because I was working full time and stuff. But I was lucky because I had a support network around me, like my mum. Like, I think when I quit the call center, I was like, just paid her like 3 months rent, whatever she was charging me for rent, just paid her for 3 months, took that leap and was like, right, in 3 months I can get my earnings up. And that'll cover me. I think after that 3 months, I wasn't earning enough, and she didn't charge me. So I'm very fortunate to have that opportunity. But yeah, I just sort of, and it was just, for me, it was just, I just loved the boxing gym. So I think I just sort of took that leap sort of from like earning money to not earning money, but happy in the knowledge that I'd had that foresight that I won't have regrets this way, because at least now I've given it everything. So I think that's the main thing for me, was just like all my mates were earning money, and that was the hard part, like having to scrounge around for nights out and stuff. And I owe my mates a lot of nights out. I'm sure they funded me throughout the years. They're probably all going to cash it in when we fight in Vegas. So you got to pay for us because of all those nights out. But so I think that was the leap for me, was going from earning money as a sort of 21-year-old to not earning any money. And I didn't earn any money from boxing until I was probably earning about 400-500 quid a month for about 3-4 years. Luckily living at home, and pushing the boxing, trying to get on Great Britain squad, because then you'd get funding. Never got on it. And then I was 26 when I got my last assessment, and they said no. And then went to turn pro. Even then I was like, didn't know who I was going to go with. I knew I was going to ask Shane, but thankfully he took me on, and the McGuigans gave me a retainer every month for somewhere to live in London. And that was sort of the most money I'd earned in years, because it wasn't a huge retainer, but I had, my only outgoings really was food. Wasn't a huge retainer, but yeah, just had the opportunity to live my dream, and that was living my dream then. Do you know what I mean?
Unbelievable, man. Thanks for sharing that, mate.
That's all right.
It's incredible to think, like I said, there'd be so many times where you could have given up, or think, do you know what, 400 quid a month is just not enough for the lifestyle that I want. But it's unbelievable to hear.
Yeah, I was with Mia at that time as well, and so she had to like live with that as well. Wow. Like with a bloke who, especially in this day and age, where a lot of time it's how much money is he earning or whatever, what cars he drive. And I was driving around in a beaten up car, not earning that much money, but yeah, thankfully she stuck by me, and I'm very lucky to have her.
Unreal, mate. I often think as well, when people, this like whole leap of faith thing, do it early. Like when you're younger and there's less responsibilities. I ended up doing it. I had a 4-month-old, mortgage and all this stuff. So I actually saved for over a year's worth of, call it runway, like money, like payments, like over a year, just to, I was like, I can back
fair
myself.
Play to you, mate, because that's incredible, especially to do that in with a 4-month-old. That is phenomenal.
Thanks, mate.
I had no responsibility in terms of children or paying rent. I could, stay on my mum, so I could blag it, but very different.
Yeah, but still, that you've got still got to stay in there, and maybe it's harder when you're younger because you're not as mature and you're kind of like, I don't know. So it's credit both ways. I think it's amazing, and obviously you've paid everyone back now by winning the world title.
Hopefully.
I'd just love to know, before I ask this last question, with your relationship with Shane, obviously him taking you on was a big part of that journey. When you turned pro, who you're going to go with, giving you the retainer to be in London. Do you guys ever talk about where you are now? I know it's only been 3 weeks, but the sort of journey you've been on together?
Yeah, a little bit through the years we have. Like, I was just an amateur, and I think, to be honest, they had a gym at the time which they were going to do corporate sessions from, and because I was a qualified PT, I thought they probably thought, okay, you can do some box on some of our shows, but also work as a PT. And I was like, I was absolutely fine with that. Like, I don't care. I'll work every hour under the sun if I get some pad sessions every day with you, sort of thing. So, that they never, the corporate deals they had, sort of, I never ended up actually working and just sort of training all the time, just full time. So I wasn't actually working for them as well. So, which was the original plan. But yeah, and I got one knockout as an amateur, and then one day in the gym, I chinned someone in sparring, and it's funny actually, we were sat in the cafe talking about it, because for me it was like a new sensation, and they were buzzing because they understand in terms of like the development that I'd had. I never knocked one lad out as an amateur, wasn't a big puncher at all, and then in the pro, basically knocked someone out or dropped them, basically, not out cold, but yeah. And then we were sat in the cafe and Barry's like, oh, Barry walked past from the shop and goes, oh, I was sparring. And Shane goes, oh yeah, Chris knocked him, Chris like chinned him. And Barry laughed because he thought it was a joke. So he actually thought he was joking. He was like, and Shane was like, no, Dad seriously did. He's like, no way, like, couldn't believe it. So yeah, I had to very much sort of prove my worth, I think, in the gym. But yeah, and then after that I went 5-0, 5 knockouts. So yeah, we had later on, like around that stage, we joke about it. Like I turned up at the gym as a feather-fisted sort of fighter, and now I'm a knockout artist. So they're joking and like joking about. And then, I mean, even the last few weeks, like me, Shane, and Josh Pritchard have got a chat on WhatsApp, and they're like randomly putting, they're like, CBS is world champ, like just like, because it's such a journey, and we're still coming to terms with it as a team, because it's just all fell into place so smoothly since last year with the Chamberlain fight and then the Zhozhai fight, and then obviously the world title fight, like I spoke about earlier. Everything fell into place just perfectly on the perfect stage, and the tickets sold well. Just everything, like I said, went perfectly. So yeah, and I mean, I've seen interviews with Shane and him saying it's his greatest achievement in his career is getting me to win a world title. So that's, it really makes me, it's quite heartwarming for me, because that's just crazy. A man who's so successful, and I'm his, proudest moment of his career. I mean, I'm sure he'll go on to top that. But yeah, it's a very special relationship we have, especially after everything he's been through over the last few years. He's been through a hell of a lot as a man, outside the gym and stuff related to the gym. And I've been there, as much as I can for him throughout it. So yeah, it's nice to win and be successful like I was the other week, but with a team around you which is a proper team. I feel like I'm a half McGuigan, do you know what I mean? Unbelievable family, and yeah, very, very fortunate to have the opportunity, and hopefully now I've made it worthwhile.
Amazing, mate. I love that, because success is a team sport, isn't it? And the relationships or the connection with people is what really makes everything enjoyable. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that's what life's about, really. When you think about it, like we're talking about being dads, that's the connection you got with your relationship you have with your children. I think life's about connections with people, and I'm so lucky for the people I've got in my life.
Yeah, amazing, mate. Well, look, that leads really nicely onto this last question. So one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life was hear that my mum had a brain tumour. I still don't think I've fully healed from that, because the mother-son relationship is a deep one. And that was a difficult journey, and luckily she survived and she's good and everything like that. But I know that you found out during your camp that your mother was facing cancer. So I suppose, how did that play out? How did you cope with it? And then how did that alter, if anything, the way that you performed?
I think I said I found out about 6 weeks before the fight, but I think it was actually sooner. I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks. But went around my mum's around her flat on a Friday night, I think it was, after I got back from camp, and it was very sort of normal to do that. And then my mum just like, right, I've got something to say, and I was like, oh dear, like, and she's like, had a scan, and because she had breast cancer 25 years ago, so she has like a 3-year checkup. So I had my checkup, and I've got a lump put on my other breast. She had a mastectomy the first time, but she was so positive about it. She wasn't in tears or anything. So she was just like, she just explained everything in one sentence. She was like, that it's very small, I'm gonna have a mastectomy, blah blah blah, so that should get rid of it and it'll be all right. And that was that. And Mia, I found out after, Mia was like, I told your mum not to tell you, like in the build up to this fight, because Mia was like, no, it'll ruin Chris, like, because she knows like my mum is my world, like she so she Mia was like, don't tell Chris, apparently, like in tears to my mum, like, because she'd found out before I had. And yeah, she's like, don't talk it. And my mum was like, I have to tell him. Like, and I'm so glad my mum, I think that's where my mum knows me better than Mia does, because in that scenario, because if I'd found out after the fight that I would have killed me, like knowing that she's got this playing on her mind and stuff. But yeah, and she had her operation a couple of weeks back, and then went back in a week after, which was last Thursday. So we're probably about 12 days post-op. But she went in a week after post-op, and had a conversation, like a checkup and stuff. And she was like, I can't believe how well you look and everything like that. So yeah, my mum's just like, she's like a superwoman. Like, she's like, had breast cancer 25 years ago. She had a stroke a couple of years ago, like 9 days before our wedding, during COVID. And then, she's just a phenomenal woman and just so positive. And like I said in my post-fight press conference, I think must be where I get my fighting spirit from, is my mum, because she just stays positive with it all. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, she's amazing woman, and lucky to have two very good parents, because not everyone does. Yeah. And I just feel so fortunate to be. Sometimes you feel bad about it because you're in such a fortunate position, whereas some people aren't. But I think it's important to also talk about that, and talk about and be grateful, I guess, about being in that position, because for the exact reason, not everyone does get that. So you have to appreciate it when you are there, because what people would do to be in the situation I'm in is a hell of a lot. Do you know what I mean? And very fortunate. I just feel like the luckiest man in the world, to be honest with you. Like, everything going on, my whole life, put it into a package, and I wouldn't be able to plan a better life. Do you know what I mean? Even if there is some adversity in there, through dark saying endeavor through adversity, I think that's so important, because it adds to the appreciation of life and everything that comes with it.
Yeah, mate, amazing. Thanks for sharing that. I wonder if, like, because sometimes you can use the pain and channel it somehow.
Yeah, I've always had that sort of outlook on challenges. Even when I was ill on fight week, I was like, this is going to make the victory even sweeter. Like, because that's just the mindset I have. I've always been the same about anything. I mean, I had another fight a few years ago where I didn't spar for the last 3 weeks, and I was like, this will make a victory even sweeter and more rewarding. And another time, Isaac Chamberlain fight, I only had 5 weeks of training. I was like, it's going to be hard, but in the changing room after I broke down, Mia gave me a hug, and I just broke down because it'd been a terrible camp. My son was born. I was away from Sunday to Friday, and yeah, everything just added up. And then the night, the atmosphere, the emotion, the unbelievable fight that we had, headline on Sky Sports, all that just into a pot, and then Mia comes and hugs me, and it's just a release. So yeah, I think that'll be. We've got a documentary coming out on the whole gym, so I think they've got that on film. So there'll be a lot of tears in that documentary. Yeah, maybe it's just cameras that make me cry. It seems every time there's a camera on me, I seem to tear up, but not today. But yeah, no, it's. I think that endeavour through adversity is something I've lived by before I even met the Through Dark lads and learnt about that mantra. It just makes it more worthwhile, and it makes it sweeter, and it makes that feeling alive, you know what I mean? Because you've had to overcome something. Nothing worth having, comes easy, sort of thing. So the harder the journey, the sweeter the view, sort of thing, So yeah, that's sort of how I've always subconsciously lived life, I guess. And you just got to embrace it. There's that Ryan Holiday book, Obstacle is the Way, and just attack it and find a reason to flip your head to say, okay, well, this is going to be a sweeter victory, or this is going to be a more satisfying journey or destination because of the journey it's taken. And I think that's what makes life so sweet and makes you feel so alive.
The path less travelled.
Exactly.
You're on it, mate. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, of course, mate. I'm glad we finally did it, and we're going to do another one very soon.
Nice one.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate.